Axial and selective coding. We will begin with a brief description of a codice. Then we will continue with a definition of open coding and continue with axial and selective coding, which is the main purpose of this presentation and which will include definitions and specific examples of our codes in relation to the interviews. After the illustration of the codes, we will show you the scheme and explain the different relationships between the codes. Finally, we will discuss the insights we gained regarding our research and whether our theoretical framework was validated throughout the project. So, what is a codice? A codice is a leading global design and consultancy firm for natural and built assets. Their main activities are design, consultancy, engineering, project, and management services. A codice is built from 4 different pillars: water, environment, buildings, and infrastructure. They focus on sustainability. You can see this through their outcomes and the projects that they deliver. The interior of their offices are even designed to reflect sustainability. The main outcomes from our interviews. We held 4 interviews with 4 different women at our codice in 3 different locations: Amsterdam, Amersfoort, and Den Bosch. The women all held different positions, ranging from simple team manager to head of department. We had great interviews with all 4 women. The results were similar and diverged from each other in only a few answers regarding the personal characteristics that each woman held. Definition of open coding. We would like to briefly remind you of the definition for open coding, since it is the foundation and building block of the axial and selective coding. According to Strauss and Corbin, open coding is the process of breaking down, examining, comparing, conceptualizing, and categorizing data. All the fragments with the same subject will receive the same code. On the other hand, axial coding, also according to Strauss and Corbin, is the set of procedures whereby data are put back together in new ways by making connections between categories. To give a clearer explanation, we are going to show you an example drawn from our codes. When doing the axial coding, we realized that our codes still stood. The only thing that differed was that we merged some initial codes we had with others and added some new codes that were relevant. For instance, the last interviewee elaborated more on the interior design of the company, so we added an axial code called Employees' Perception of Organizational Environment and Surrounding. Selective coding. After joining some open codes together and including them in similar categories, selective coding comes into play. It involves searching for the connection between the created categories in order to understand and see patterns in the data. The selective code is usually a core category that includes a lot of other categories and is stated in a more abstract way. For us, it was the most difficult part because we struggled finding one big idea that framed the recurring trend of the data. Here's an illustration of one of our selective codes. You can see how we created it from the different axial codes that we had. During the coding process, we realized some axial codes weren't descriptive enough, resulting in codes that had to be merged. For example, we merged the codes communication and interaction to become only communication. Additionally, a list of codes was obtained prior to conducting interviews, but as we gained a deeper insight into our data, some codes were added. Doing the graphic scheme is very important. First, for the researchers to follow the red thread and to help answer the research question, and secondly, for the readers of the study to get a clear overview of the data. Here is the graphic scheme. So we're looking at this table from right to left. First, we can see our secondary axial codes, which we derived from our open codes. The column in the middle contains our relevant axial codes, which are organizational culture contributes to the experience of a positive working environment, clear need for effective communication within the company, and experiences concerning gender diversity. The relationship between the axial codes and the secondary axial codes are all positive, with the exception of the relationship between experiences concerning gender diversity and noticed gender gaps in the workplace, which is shown with the red arrow. After considering all the codes and debating their meanings and interpretations, we found a common pattern, which you can see under the last comment, entitled Selective Codes, which reads compatibility with organizational culture. The organizational culture at Arcadis is really where everything comes together, since it allows women to feel comfortable and connected with the environment. In fact, the organizational culture supports the advancement of women in the company. This positive reinforcements that they receive helps them to remain motivated in their male dominated workplace. To illustrate this overarching theme, one of our interviewees had a clear opinion on the matter. She stated, Ocadis really does want to change. They really want more women, even at the top. It's really coming from the management. Like, we have to be open minded, get more women, even at the top positions. So I think it's a cultural thing. The coding in general reduces the amount of data, leaving only the relevant parts. It is also helpful to explore and interpret the data because while coding, we had to keep asking ourselves questions about the meaning of the data. Conclusion reflection. One of the insights we gained as we conducted our research was that women in varying positions had different opinions about the management and organizational culture of Ocadis. For example, one woman felt that she had a lot of autonomy, while another woman said she had to check everything she wanted to do with all four of her upper level managers, while their position within the company could be considered similar. Additionally, no adaptations were made to our research question because it reflected our data positively. Regarding the theoretical framework, we believe that it is not validated. The reason for this is that women at Arcadis do not feel that they are hindered by a potential glass ceiling, but that their motivation comes from the organizational culture that allows and supports them to climb the hierarchical ladder. Thank you for your attention.